Will you join me in this morning's call to worship? You'll find your part up there on the screen. We gather this morning to find joy and comfort in one another,
to bear each other's burdens and celebrate the mystery of life.
Come, let us worship together. We light this chalice as a symbol of our free religious faith that calls us to hold the tension of individuality and community. As every choir is a joining of individual voices, we are a community made up of individual people. Each of us contributes something special and valuable to our beloved community, and those contributions are magnified by the contributions of others.
I am, you are me. That's what I said. I am, you are me. Don't you see? I am, you are me. That's what I said. I am, you are me. Don't you see? I am, you are me. That's what I said. I am, you are me. Don't you see? I am, you are me. That's what I said. I am, you are me. Don't you see? I am, you are me. That's what I said. I am, you are me. Don't you see? I am, you are me. That's what I said. I am, you are me. Don't you see? I am, you are me. That's what I said. I am, you are me. Don't you see? I am. seems like I'm already on the road. That's what I say, but there is something coming up that's crazy. I'm already on the road. That's what I say, but there is something coming up that's crazy. It's a fact, always
I never thought I would live during or through a pandemic. I am you are me. Seemingly overnight, we went from blissful ignorance to hypervigilance, from complacency to urgency, from relaxed to tense, from carefree, thoughtless singing to not singing anything or singing alone. Accompanied by this life-threatening affliction that we knew nothing about were feelings of fear, anxiety, desolation, loneliness, and disconnection. And never before had I imagined that singing, that most natural and automatic of actions, as easy as breathing, would become a dangerous pastime. Somehow, though, we decided that we had to keep keeping on. We all did that, an unspoken collective vote to stay connected. We decided that wallowing and languishing were fine at times, but we had to pick each other up. We checked in on people we meant to before the pandemic, but now made time for. Maybe we even let go of others we didn't really like much to begin with. We wrote cards, notes. We appreciated others in check-in texts and emails. We had virtual cocktail hour, virtual bridge, virtual wine and cheese nights, birthday parties, memorial services, and even weddings. Our human need for connection remained steady, even when we are challenged by the rules of COVID. I'm not a real piano player, but I play one in my jobs. I can fake my way through lots of music. When we began Zoom rehearsals in earnest, it was out of the question to ask our amazing Forrest to accompany the choir, since the technology lag time made it impossible to honor his beautiful playing underneath people singing in their living rooms. I closed rehearsals with "There is more love somewhere." Sometimes during the hour preceding, I would read passages from books about singing, then we'd rehearse on mute for a bit. I might ask a ridiculous question that singers would each answer. What's something we would never guess about you? What's your favorite fill in the blank? These folks do so many more different things than singing in the church choir. There was a lot of crazy stuff they shared. Then we'd sing a bit more. Sometimes we'd all stretch awkwardly with our cameras angled weirdly on unsuspecting body parts, sing some more, someone always forgetting to mute or unmute, and the rest of us admonishing them gently. Then we'd sing some more. And sometimes we would cry. We always ended with, "There is more love somewhere." Love, joy, hope, always ending with hope. Since Zoom rehearsals, we went on to some BUC parking lot rehearsals, and eventually in person, even having a legendary and safe choir party. Some pictures are up on the screen if you want to glance. We went back to Zoom for a bit, and here we are today. Today's Choir Sunday 2022 is brought to you by the Busey Chalice Choir, who warmly gifts you with their voices joined together in this live setting. Whether you are experiencing the service from home or our sanctuary, may you remember that you, our beloved community, are carried in our hearts. Today our choir sings for themselves, for each other, and for you. We are connected by this community. Please rise as you are willing and able and join in singing hymn number 95, There's More Love Somewhere. Words will be on the screen.
Our next piece, O Magnum Mysterium, is written in Church Latin. Latin has an interesting history in the Catholic Church. In the 4th century, shortly after Christianity became the official church of the Roman Empire, St. Jerome of Stridon translated the Bible from its original Hebrew, Aramaic, and Greek into Latin. This was not the classical Latin of Caesar 400 years earlier. It was the Latin of the common people. They would now be able to understand the Bible in their own language. As Latin continued to evolve into French, Spanish, Italian, and other Romance languages, and as the church spread into Germanic, Celtic, and Slavic lands, this version of Latin became the official language of the Catholic Church. On a positive note, it enabled communication not only for the church, but also for the educated community in general, in one language that all educated people learned. Concurrently, it reinforced an elite hierarchy who told masses what they could and could not believe. When I was a teenager, Pope John XXIII called the Second Vatican Council to reform the Catholic Church. One of those reforms was returning the church to the language of the people. I rejoiced that we could now understand the words of the Mass. I didn't understand why there were those who wanted to retain Latin in Sunday service. I figured they were just backward. What I didn't understand was the hidden mystery of music. As the church was the center of life for most people, musicians for 1,500 years all composed some of their greatest works in church Latin. Most people couldn't understand the words, but they could experience the emotions conveyed by the music. It was far richer and more transcendent than the four-chord folkish songs that were coming into the Catholic Church of the 1960s. O Magnum Mysterium, O Great Mystery, speaks of the way we are all connected to each other through Jesus Christ, the Son of God. But the words are not the most important message in this contemporary piece. Morton Lauridsen has captured the feeling of transcendence in the pure vowels and soft consonants of Church Latin, in the progression of the notes, and in the consonance and dissonance that carries us to a place that is bigger than any individual one of us. Close your eyes and visualize yourself in a transcendent place, be that a resonant cavern, a wooded glen, or a Gothic cathedral. Feel the connection we have with each other and with all of creation as you let the music itself convey the message of the great mystery of which we are all a part.
Mystery.
The mission of Birmingham Unitarian Church is to be a free and welcoming religious community that encourages lives of integrity, learning, service, and joy. One way that we live out this mission is by giving half of our weekly offering to a nonprofit organization that shares our values and addresses needs in one of the four following areas: environmental action, economic justice, civic engagement, and racial justice. We support a different organization each month. Our recipient for the month of May is Black Lives of UU, also known as Blue. Since its inception in 2015, Blue has grown to be a place where Black UUs can expand their power and capacity within our faith, minister to the particular needs of Black UUs, and work together for justice and liberation. We woke this morning to the news of a horrible incident of violence in Buffalo. A young white man massacred 13 people, intentionally targeting Black people, and killed 11 Black people. So on a day when we are faced with such knowledge, I think it becomes increasingly important for us to consider what are the specific needs of Black UUs, and why is it so important for us to support organizations like Blue. And let us retain our sense of anger and outrage while also finding comfort in one another and standing and being, very ableist language, but finding ourselves in solidarity with Black people and people of color. May that be so. There's information about how you can give. This morning's offering will now be collected.
During the pandemic, many of us have felt alone and fearful. Nothing of this magnitude has ever been experienced in our lifetimes. We've searched for ways to comfort ourselves. Each of us have some coping skills we normally use. However, getting together in our community and sharing how we have coped with this situation has lifted us up, made us feel better, supported us, given us new coping skills. I'm going to sing this song that suggests that whistling is a way to cope with fears. At one point in this song, I will need your help. So pucker up and get ready. Whenever I feel afraid, I hold my head erect and whistle a happy tune so no one will suspect I'm afraid. While shivering in my shoes, I strike a careless pose and whistle a happy tune so no one ever knows I'm afraid. The result of this perception is very strange to tell, for when I fool the people I fear, I fool myself as well. I whistle a happy tune, and every single time the happiness in the tune convinces me that I'm not afraid. Get ready. Make believe you're brave, and the twist will take you far. You can be as brave as you make believe you are. You can be as brave as you make believe you are. I think we can do that a little better. Make believe you're brave, and the trick will make you far. You may be as brave as you make believe you are.
support group after this for people like me who can't whistle, because I hear other people out there saying, I can't whistle. It's all right. We'll meet in the lobby. Meet the non-whistlers at BUC. We've come to the time in our service that we set aside for centering and prayer, and we begin with the sharing of joys and sorrows. We start off with a request from Ann Calamani. Ann says, all good wishes, warm thoughts, and prayers on behalf of Betty Blair, who is recovering from pneumonia and newly out of the hospital. I'm sure that Betty would appreciate a card. We have several joys in the lives of young people today. We have from Kathy Duhame, congratulations to my daughter, Jessa Weber, for being hooded yesterday for her Juris Doctorate at Notre Dame University. We also have a joy from Larry Larson. Larry says, I am proud of my granddaughter, Maya, who graduated with honors last week from Washington State University. She intends to pursue a career in neuroscience and psychology. And we also have a joy from Art Hillman. Art says, it was a joy to see the Ministerial Fellowship Committee of the UUA granting full fellowship to the Reverend Mandy Beal. Thanks, Art. I did not put Art up to that, but I am glad that you saw that. I appreciate you pointing that out. So yes, congratulations to me, but also congratulations to all of us. That's a group project. There were several evaluations that were written by several mini teams over the first 3 years of my ministry, and I think we're all grateful that that's over with. And I'm very, very proud to be at this point, so thank you, Art, for noting that. I invite you now to join me in the spirit of prayer. Spirit of love and life, creative force of the universe that sustains and holds us together. This morning we arrive as a people committed to being together, committed to fellowship and community. We are here to share a joy in being together and a love of music. On days like this, we revel in the glory of spring. We are grateful for the return of the sun, for singing things, for creeping things, for skittering things. And we know amongst all of this, there is also heartache. Our world is so complicated and confusing sometimes. There is deep wrong in this world, and there is also so much good. Let us find the balance that allows us to be sustained in our work for justice and also joyful as we do so. Let us find comfort and quietude here in this congregation, as well as a raucous, loving joy. Let us find more about ourselves than we thought could be there through our interactions with each other. When we meet one another, let us do so with an open heart and a loving mind, and acknowledge that everybody is just another part of us we haven't met yet. And find ways to integrate that, to be healthier, to be happier, to be more whole. May it be so. Amen, and blessed be.
Comfort me.
Good morning. My name is Stephen, and I am one half, third generation Ukrainian. You do the math. Both of my maternal grandparents were born outside Lviv in western Ukraine. They married about 20 years later in Canada. My grandfather, going forward as my Dito, came from a farming town called Buchach, where, way back even in 1909, Russia had a strong presence. Russian soldiers would take whatever they wanted, food, horses, and land, often at gunpoint, leaving Ukrainians feeling deeply resentful, in constant fear, and with no real ownership of anything. It was decided that my Dito, the eldest child, would be sent to Canada at the age of 14 in order to start a better life in a new country. He left his parents and 9 siblings with no ability to speak English and 1 small suitcase. My Dito's name was Gregory, pronounced Harry. When he arrived at Customs Canada, his agent could not pronounce his name, so he stamped his visa as Harry, a name he used for the remainder of his 98 years. My Dito was a hard-working man, as proven upon his arrival in the New World, working his way across Western Canada on farms, hopping trains, in order to eventually meet an uncle in Grimsby, Ontario, an area not far from Niagara Falls. It was here where my Dito learned the art of butchery. With the boom of Detroit in the early part of the 20th century, Harry moved south to Windsor, where he eventually accrued 3 butcher shops, allowing him to continuously send money back to his family. He traveled back to Ukraine twice, and on his second visit was able to bring back his youngest sibling, his brother Michael. My great-uncle Michael was an entrepreneur, and not long after his arrival in Canada, owned a hotel, what we now call a bar, and 2 supermarkets. My Dito would work at his own butcher shops during the day and then tend bar at the hotel in the evenings, returning home in the early morning hours. My Dito co-founded St. Vladimir Noga Church and Uno Hall, named for the Ukrainian Nationalist Organization, a building with a stage and a dance floor, serving as a cultural center. Both the church and the cultural center were a 2-minute walk from my grandparents' home. My dad said that my Dito's lawn was like walking on a golf course green, and that his car was always the shiniest. My mom said she would see her father no more than 45 minutes a day. My Dito's overworking, accompanied by habits like smoking 3 packs of cigarettes per day, led to a massive stroke at the age of 76, where he lost his ability to speak. Although my grandparents did well financially, they lived very frugally, residing in the lower level of a duplex while renting out the upper level. With my grandparents passing, that upper level is where I lived for 10 years. My bachelor pad was in the midst of a once thriving Ukrainian population, and it would be here where I learned a lot about my Dito. I learned how respected he was in the community, an honest man who would often sell meat on credit when folks didn't have enough money. I learned about his contributions to the church, both financial and hard work, information not previously shared with me because of the tensions his religious devotion created during my mom's youth. These stories I learned from the aging neighbors were so meaningful to me because my Dito couldn't share his story with me himself due to his stroke. I remember nights as a teenager praying, laying in bed to an unknown God that my Dito could speak, if only for a few hours, to share his stories with me. When Russia invaded Ukraine a couple months ago, I was immediately affected, both emotionally and physically. At first, this new anger and hatred boiling in me didn't make sense to me. I wasn't practicing anything in Ukrainian culture, nor attending Ukrainian church or events. I've never visited. I don't know any of my relatives back in Ukraine. And since my mom's passing 2 years ago, I wasn't getting the usual updates about my cousins, uncles, and aunts. Yet I was a wreck, unable to get away from the news, and this impact on me was affecting my family and my work. I felt obliged to help fight in the war. This new anger led me to dig deeper into who I am. I identify as Ukrainian, even if only on my mom's side, even if I don't speak the language or know the dance moves, inabilities I felt shame for as a kid. It was my Dito's work ethic, his values and generosity, what made me identified with him. His musicianship and deep spirituality are what connect me to him. His willingness to immigrate in order to give his dependents a better life is what made me a proud Ukrainian. Ukrainian Canadian, I'm sorry. I learned that it's our spiritual connections that make us who we are, not our names, our rituals we do blindly as kids. I would like to end in a prayer. May Ukraine come out of this war stronger than before, independent of Russian persecution. Slava Ukraine.
Please rise in body or spirit to sing the Ukrainian national anthem. The choir will sing it for you. Hum along.
Our next song, Sing Gently, was composed by Eric Whitaker in 2020 specifically for the pandemic. He observed, "It became clear that this moment in history was going to be remembered as one of great suffering for many people. He hoped that this song might give some small measure of comfort for those who need it, and that it might suggest a way of living with one another that is compassionate, gentle, and kind." Sing Gently premiered online on July 19th, 2020, performed by a virtual choir of 17,572 singers from 129 countries, ranging in age from 5 to 88. It asks us to sing gently as one. Over the past 2 years, it has perhaps been harder for many of us to think of ourselves as one. I have found it easy to feel myself as part of the whole in this beloved community, but have found it harder to feel the whole itself. That feeling of being part of a whole was never more evident than in virtual choir rehearsals. Yes, we were singing. Yes, we could all see each other. Yes, we were sharing an activity. Yes, we were connected, but it was harder to feel like a community. Don't get me wrong, I'm profoundly grateful to ABHA for the extra work it took to have meaningful rehearsals via Zoom and provide choir music for worship. But nothing compares to being able to sing together in person. Choral singers will tell you there is no greater joy than singing with others. Hearing the harmonies come together within the ebb and flow of the dynamics, being part of a community of voices raised in song simply has no equivalent. I am soul level happy to be back with this group. May we stand together, always. This semester, the alto section has been missing one of its stalwarts, Barb Eschner, who has instead been participating in a support group as she prepares for a kidney transplant this coming Wednesday. Barb embodies the spirit of community and brings it to all of the connections she makes. She is a creative force behind many of our fundraising events at BUC, and her creativity always serves to bring people more deeply into community, always in the most fun and gentle of ways. Barb, we dedicate Sing Gently to you and send you our love. May we sing together always.
Many songs tell a story, but some songs have a story all their own. The song some of us are about to sing, Wayfaring Stranger, is one of those songs. The story it tells is straightforward. The storyteller says, I'm traveling through a world of woe, a world full of storm clouds and rough roads. But I know that just over the horizon, there is a bright land where I will be with all my loved ones and will sing together in fields of gold. The story is about faith, the religious faith that some have, that after the trials and tribulations of this world, there's an afterworld of joy. But it is also about the faith that no matter how bad things are today, they will get better if we just keep traveling down the road. It is about the journey from despair to hope. Like the sojourner it is about, this song itself has been on a long road. It was first found in American hymn books in the mid-1800s, but the story of its origin is murky at best. Of the people who study this kind of thing, some suspect it was brought over to the US by immigrants from Germany in the early 1800s. Others suggest it might have roots as a spiritual. Still others say it might have come from the frontier communities of southern Appalachia in early colonial times. I am sure that none of these claims is entirely true, but I'm also sure that all of them are true enough. This song, like all folk songs, has been reshaped by each generation that learned it and repurposed by each community it touched. The universality of the story it tells is irresistible. Anyone who hears it has a claim to it simply by being human. For the last 2 years, we have been in a world of woe, especially for those suffering the concrete loss of a global pandemic and its lingering uncertainty, and those forced from their homes by the senseless violence of war. This morning, Tom, Tim, Keith, Amy, and I sing this song for all those wayfaring strangers who have not yet reached the bright land for which they yearn.
I'm just a poor wayfaring stranger. I'm traveling through this world of woe. Yet there's no sickness, toil, or danger in that bright land to which I go. I know dark clouds will gather round me. I know my way is rough and steep, yet golden fields lie just before me, where the redeemed shall ever sleep. I'm going there to see my mother. I'm going there no more to roam. I'm only going over Jordan. I'm only going over home. I'm going there to meet my loved ones, to sing with them forevermore. I'm just a going over Jordan. I'm just a going over home. I'm just a going over home. I'm going home. I'm going home.
Our next song, Omnia Soul, is a song of parting or farewell. From a deeper perspective, it's a reflection on the constant passage of events and people in life's continuum, and the human need to anchor words of love and commitment in the hearts of those who have been pillars along the way. Even with the ever-changing chaos of life, we can find a piece of solid ground in the simple assurance that one is hardly alone. Rather, life is a mosaic made up of images, conversations, laughter, love, sorrow, and experiences too numerous to count. All as a result of our lives interacting with other human beings from the moment of birth onward. Each of us has an inseparable kinship with others. The metaphor for that kinship in this piece is omnia soul, or everywhere light. We perpetuate this light by daily investing in others and leaving a bit of ourselves in every soul we encounter. The words omnia soul temperat absens in remota state. The sun warms everything, even when I am far away. On a personal note, if I could say, when Abba introduced this song to us, it really resonated with me in a very big way. 2021 was just past, and it had been a pretty excruciating year for me, frankly, as I'd lost several loved ones. It began with my uncle passing away in January. Then in March, my wonderful mother, Joyce, passed on after a long struggle with Alzheimer's. In July, we lost my wife, Jane's father, Dennis. And then in November, my own father, Jack, left this earth. Needless to say, it was really rough, but I appreciate this chance to honor their memory a bit. The words of this beautiful song we're about to sing speak of courage and perseverance through life's travails. A key passage says, "Oh, stay your soul and leave my heart its song. Oh, stay your hand, the journey may be long. And when we part and sorrow can't be swayed, remember when and let your heart be stayed." This certainly struck a chord for me and couldn't have been more appropriate timing. I know it's going to stay with me. Just one last thing, if I could, as someone quite new here at BUC and a very new chancel choir member, just since November, I just want to say that it's been really wonderful connecting in voice with all of you, fine singers under Abba's terrific direction. And Forrest, his playing has moved me to tears. I particularly remember his rendition of "Somewhere There's a Place for Us." It's a good thing I was behind the mask there. It might have got ugly. But I appreciate it. Thank you so much. Music is truly a wonderful thing. Thank you.
When far from nowhere I grew both strong and tall, longing to become, but knowing not the path at all. But the footprints of the winter melted to fields of spring. One must embrace before I cross the threshold.
In 2020, Choir Sunday was canceled for the first time in decades due to the COVID-19 pandemic. But thanks to heroic efforts by Appa and Stephen Deering and my fellow choir members, we organized a Zoom version of Choir Sunday for later that summer. As some of you may recall, I wrote and performed a parody of I Will Survive for that service, with new words to suit the occasion. Yes, they're up there. My wife Cindy, along with our cat Streak, backed me up with some disco dancing. I sang, "Go on, now stay outside my door. If you're not bringing me a pizza, you're not welcome anymore. The only way to stop this is to keep myself inside. I won't spread it to my friends, don't want my loved ones to die." Well, now that we're back here in person, by popular demand, here is a reprisal of I Will Survive, but with updated lyrics. At first, we were afraid, we were terrified, and we all spent weeks or months alone, cooped up inside, disconnected from our friends, isolated and alone. But we found ways to stay connected with our phones, and now we're back from cyberspace, and I'm glad to be here with you in our sanctuary space. 2 years of struggle could have broken us away, but our congregation's tough, and we're stronger every day. Come on inside, walk through our door. Come join our celebration, we're not locked down anymore. I used to wonder how we'd make it through the year, but it's 2022 now, folks, and we're still here, and now I'm sure we will survive. And if we all participate, BUC will thrive. We all have lives to live, but we still have time to give, so we'll survive. We will survive. Hey, hey. This would have been a dance break. It took all the strength we had not to lose our heads, and I'm sure we'll find more trouble on the road ahead. I wish I could be wrong, but when each challenge comes along, we'll have a place where we know we belong. And now you're here at BUC to hear the awesome singers in the choir loft with me. We stuck together by rehearsing over Zoom, but nothing beats the sound of singing in the same room. Come on inside, walk through our door. Come join our celebration, we're not locked down anymore. I used to wonder how we'd make it through the year, but it's 2022 now, folks, and we're still here, and now I'm sure we will survive. And if we all participate, BUC will thrive. We all have lives to live, but we still have time to give, so we'll survive. We will survive. Come on inside, walk through our door. Come join our celebration, we're not locked down anymore. I used to wonder how we'd make it through the year, but it's 2022 now, folks, and we're still here, and now I'm sure we will survive. And if we all participate, BUC will thrive. We all have lives to live, but we still have time to give, so we'll survive. We will survive, we will survive.
Rise and be able to sing our next hymn, the Jazz Alleluia. Ages ago, I was one of the leaders of BUC's 8th grade Rites of Passage experience class. It's a busy and rather demanding program. A highlight of the year was an annual trip meant to help bond our class together while having a bit of fun. In order to visit the gorgeous, historical Unitarian Church near the University of Chicago campus, we combined a train trip with a bus trip through the city. Later in the day, we spent a fair amount of time visiting fast food eateries at the Water Tower Place. 14-year-olds apparently never stop being hungry. That night, after a promise from them not to leave our big urban hotel, I heard that some class members discovered a door to the hotel roof through the stairwell. I heard the view was great. Back at the Dearborn Amtrak station the next day, I was worn out, but the class members had a great time.
When the pandemic hit in March of 2020, Mary and I started using Zoom to stay in touch with those with whom we would normally be going out to eat. A couple of months into the pandemic, we realized that we could do likewise with Mary's brother and sister-in-law, who live in Long Beach, California. Previously, we would say that we were going to call each other and never seemed to get around to it. We've now enjoyed sharing a dozen Zoom sessions. It took a pandemic to start us on a path of connecting with them more frequently than we ever had in the past.
I thought I'd say a quick word about the unique experience of singing in a mask. I happen to be sporting the stylish model here, although the duckbill model that we've all worn too is very beneficial. There's less chance of hyperventilating. I couldn't quite decide which for today, but it's stylish. In any event, I must say I really look forward to the time whenever that is, because they're very necessary. We can be freed from these, and I'll also get to see the rest of everyone's face, because I haven't seen it yet.
Whenever I sing with a large chorus, and we suddenly get on the same undefinable frequency, for a moment I feel a connection, not just to the others, but to the Almighty.
You are all even nicer than I remembered, and that's great.
I'm going to speak about a completely different kind of connection. Thousands of people doing something very simple, the wave. That was started by my then 12-year-old nephew, Adam, in the upper deck of Tiger Stadium. It was picked up by the lower deck, going the opposite direction, and it seemed to last an hour. So let's give it a try.
On behalf of the choir, I want to thank some people. Dear Appa, you are amazing. You kept our spirits up when we were not sure we'd ever get to sing together again in person. You and Stephen were tested and came through with flying colors during Zoom church. I'm pretty sure none of us can know to what ends you had to go through to keep music in our services at that time. Not only are you so very talented, but you are a beautiful person inside and out. We love you, and we are so grateful to have you for our choir director. And Forrest, I hope you know how much we love and appreciate you. Your music is beautiful. You are not only a wonderful pianist, but you have shown how much you know when you jump in and do sectionals with us. We love your gentle personality. Thank you. And then last but not least, Amy. Ames, as we call her. You keep it together for all of us, always working in the background to help APA keep things moving, in addition to sharing your wonderful voice with the choir, the band, and the small groups. We love and appreciate you. You are an expert in herding cats.
As we come into the second half of our service, I just I have a couple of things to do before we extinguish the chalice. First, I need to, before I forget, I need to ask you, please, will you turn your chairs? There's a memorial service this afternoon, and we need the help with the setup, so turn your chairs back that way, please, when we're done. I also want to thank ABHA. ABHA this past year celebrated 20 years with Birmingham Unitarian Church. Today's chancel flowers are for you, as is a plant that I don't know anything about that Joanne got that looks like a great plant, and that's for you. So. Thank you for, I've only been here for a few of those years, but I've been incredibly grateful for your partnership and your camaraderie during that time. You've been an outstanding colleague to me, and I've been very grateful for the warmth that you've brought to our staff team and to our worship services. And I also appreciate Stephen and everything that he does to keep everything on track and organized and always trying to think outside the box. And anytime we're like, we should do something really fun, I love that Stephen goes, tell ABHA to do that. And she does great. It's a great partnership. All right then. Go now into this world as a beacon of hope and joy. Go in love, go in peace. Now that our worship has ended, our service begins. May it be so. Amen, and blessed be.
Want to go fast.